Thank you very much, everyone. As it says, I look after finance. I'm an accountant. And everyone, what's the first words you think of when you think of accountant? Boring.
I'm an accountant.
Yeah. Because it's the old saying, what do accountants use for contraception? Their personalities. Yes, we might be boring, but a lot of the stuff that we do is very, very important to the business. Now, in regional New South Wales, we go through a lot of change. We look after bushfires, both figurative and literally. So our budgets change often. We get these things called efficiency dividends put on us, which basically means every year we've got to become more efficient. Now, that cut might be 2%. Then next year it's another 2% and another 2%. So really, when we start driving efficiencies, we're going to look at what we do and how we do it. Now, we've all heard the thing, work smarter, not harder, but how do you do it? You know, it's a wonderful motherhood statement that, you know, top levels throw around, oh, you've got to work smarter. But what does that mean for the people in the business? Now, we've just gone through yet another, we call them MOGs. And for those people that have been in government before, machinery government, it's where we change. And we change at a very, very quick rate in government. All of a sudden I might be this department, now I move to this department. It happens a lot. But how do we stay agile with the right information and deliver to our customers? At the end of the day, we've got to be able to give them the information, not only to see how they're going, but how they're going to make decisions. And part of the platform we did was to give people the ability to self-serve. We didn't call it self-service, of course, because what's the first thing that goes through your mind when you're thinking self-service? Why have I got to do it? It was much more about how we are serving you by allowing you to click a couple of buttons and get the information you require to make your decisions. Now, when we went through our last MOG, we had the unenviable task of basically being under 7 different SAP systems, all with different GLs, all with different cost centres, different WBS structures, everything. And basically we had to look at how do we become more efficient? How do we go in that if I'm a secretary, I can go in and say, how did my cluster go this month? When they've got to look on 7 different ERP systems to get it. Because you think something as simple as advertising. Should be easy, go in, grab the GL, there's my advertising. But no, we had 7 different GLs. But not only that, some divisions, or some ERP systems when we mogged, had 8 different GLs for advertising, whether it was print, TV, internet. How do we give them the information to do that? I'll grab the next slide. And as you can see here, there's all our SAP systems. So the first thing we had to do is work out how to integrate all this. So basically we sat down with all our shared support and worked out how do we pull out the information in a consistent way. We not only pulled out all our SAP data, all our HR data as well. One of the greatest ways to rip off companies is you never take leave. And what happens when they leave? You've got huge payouts of all that accrued leave. Not only that, if they get promoted while they're in the company, what happens to the value of that leave? It goes up as well. So we had to provide more information for our managers to look at things like leave balances. Technically, we're all meant to have 30 days. That's what's given. Would anyone like to guess how many or what proportion of people have 30 days in our organisation? Not quite, but only about half, which means that more than half the staff in our organisation has excess leave balances. Because in a way, you pay staff for 56 weeks a year. People say, geez, how do you work that out? If I work for 52 straight weeks, you've paid for 56 weeks. Because where's the last 4 weeks? It's accrued. And all this is where we needed to drive efficiencies, by giving people their own information. Not only giving it to them, but letting them own it. This excuse, I didn't know what my budget was. Who's heard that one before? Absolutely drove us crazy. So we needed a system where we could actually go down and give them the information, and basically we did that. So you can see there some of the SAP systems we got. We wanted more than just finance. Now, as an accountant, I think that's sinful, but apparently there's more to finance in a business. So we looked at things like our governance, our gift registers, our attestations, our management questionnaires. How do we make sure people can get in and get their jobs done? Now, we have found that emails are an absolute nightmare. Nobody ever reads them. I mean, I get around 400 odd emails a day. Everyone loves to CC the accountant. Nobody cares what I think, but they like to say, yeah, I let finance know. A few people are just cringing, aren't they? You know what happens. And all you've got is a quick 30 seconds to read that first line, and if it doesn't take your interest, it's gone. By using this, I was actually able to get my own information. So we put in things like our attestations. All of a sudden when they're due, people see the button pop up on their opening screen. So our organisation's not particularly large, it's about 3,500 people, and we've got 1,000 reasonably active users that are logging on using the information, from project managers to department managers to the DepSec. And they're able to, within a few clicks, get their own information and then able to drill it all down. What we really try to do is unify the business. And when you're going through 1,000 mogs a year, that is very, very hard. I've been with government, approaching my 8th year, and I've gone through 6 mogs, 6 changes. I've been in 6 different departments. And every time we change, we gain new SAP systems, we lose new SAP systems. Currently now we're with GovConnect, we've got some ServiceNow stuff, we've got on SAP Header in some of our platforms. How do we make sure we can get that and use it when I disappear? When this part of the cluster now moves? How do I get access to my old data? Always another killer when we go through change. We wanted real-time reporting. Now, real-time is basically the day before. That's real enough for us, trust me. Of course, some of the complaints always used to be when we do our monthly reports, you know, the system closes about day 2, we do some accruals, we do some adjustments, we do a few little updates, we get all the variance commentary, and our end of month reports come out about the 22nd or 23rd. That was the just-in-time information we had before. And not only that, we had a lot of people working in spreadsheets. Like, we loved Excel, we're accountants. You know, it is our favourite program. My boss went through a thing of shooting as many Excel sheets as he could. A lot of our information now is click, drop and drag. And it's much easier for non-accountants to use that type of information. We've standardised processes. We work with Prime. Prime's our treasury system. We've got to make sure we can take our information and let Treasury know how we're going in the format they require it in. Right, again, the tools that we developed allowed us to do that. It allowed us to suck out some Prime data to make sure our budget was always up to date. Anytime the budget changed, we knew exactly when that change happened and we could communicate it with the business. In a way, we have 12 budgets a year. Because when a bushfire starts, or when a mouse plague hits, or when a flood hits, or when COVID hits, regional New South Wales is a big part of it. And money was often allocated partway through to handle these problems. How do I let the business know they've got another $150 million to look after mice? And no, it's not a relocation program. I've got to be able to communicate that. So again, we develop tools to do that. IT is where most of these things get done. And it's taking your brain and taking your spreadsheets and standardising processes and letting businesses self-serve. Right? We reduced errors from multiple spreadsheets. We'd always have new people creating a new GL, which drove us absolute crazy. They create a new cost centre or a new project. But who's the last people that find out? Finance. So because we got all the information, we could find all that information. We reduced our errors. Right? Less time in entering. Like a lot of what we used to do before is you'd go into SAP, you'd run the report, you put it in Excel, you put that in a base, and then all your formulas read all the information. And you do that every single month. 3 or 4 days it took you to put this together. Right? By automating stuff like this, it makes it very easy to do your reports. Basically, we've got all this in a SQL database with a nice pretty face on it that allows us to do our reports. I'll talk a little bit about the product that we use at the moment. But again, why did we do this? Because all of a sudden I had efficiency dividends of 13.5%. I've now got one person entering my prime data. I used to have 7. Because when you do get efficiency dividends, where's the first place they always want to cut? Corporate services. And we've got to look at options on where we can save the money. We work with some shared services. How do we take that information and make it usable for the business? And you've got to have the technology, the brains, and the right people to get that done. Flexibility. One of the things we like, we work with a group called Kalumo. One of the things that we like is we do the reports ourselves. We design the reports. My team does it. So if someone comes up to me and says, hey Paul, I'd love a report that does this, we're able to design it ourselves. We go in, we put the lipstick on, we put the blush on, we make a nice pretty report that allows the business to go click and they go, there it all is. We're doing our financials out of that. It's all our financial statements. Previously, right, we just basically had a big model called, we used to call it the ARM model, KPMG, and we used to put all the data in and manipulate it all. Now, again, we've shot another spreadsheet and we've made it automated. Our budget bids. Our budgets change a lot. And everybody wants a bit of a crack at Treasury. Is there any Treasury people here today? Oh God, I'm going to have fun today. They like to look at all these different bids and work out and prioritise where does money go. And it's an important part of making sure we have business cases for certain bids. Making sure the information's there. So ministers and the Treasurer can look at some of this stuff and go, yep, that's going to drive the outcome that we want. Are we going to deliver stronger primary industries? Are we going to deliver regional growth? We're able to map a lot of our financial data with what we're delivering. Are we going to increase production, exports? So tying this financial information up with all the other things are important. So if I put a bid in, we get it in the system. If Treasury approves it, they go tick, we suck it back in, and that automatically gets added to their budget the moment Treasury's given it a tick. So they've always got the latest budget when they come back. It's a fairly manual process through Prime, but once it's done, it goes, basically the budget bid will take that bid, it'll say, you put the budget in at that level's budget has now changed. It allows us to be agile and very flexible. Right, all our budget allocation is all done that way. So whoever puts it up, they tell me where they want to bid for that money, and when it gets approved, it goes back down there. If there's less goes down there. Trust me, Treasury do not just tick off all my budget bids. That would be a wonderful world, but they don't. Right, it allows us loading of all our actuals, all our forecasts. So we can let Treasury know within a couple of days of the end of the month what our new year forecast. We forecast for the month before though. So in the last week of the month, we forecast where we're going to end. So the business can go in, see what's happened and forecast. So if we need to roll money forward into next year, right, again, with a couple of clicks, we can do a transfer and roll the money into next year's budget. Year end, preparation of the annual report, all the notes, the working papers, right, again, all, instead of using spreadsheets, I'll ask, who's still using spreadsheets for their financials? One. Yeah, the rest of you, half of you lying. Yeah, now a couple more. Right, again, it's about automating it, getting the information in. Right, Kalumo was very flexible. When I needed something, my team was able to go in and remap stuff. Right, with some simple drop and drags, right, that GL should be sitting in revenue. That GL, it's a grant. That GL, so even when they created new GLs, with a simple drop and drag, I could put my categories in. Right, all of a sudden I didn't need big teams to do my financial statements. It was there. We look at the hand numbers that we've got to do, because of course there's some hand stuff we've got to do. We're able to type it in, hit save, and there it is. We do all our variance commentary through the system. So each month, if my revenue's down $100 million, do you think I care? Absolutely. We're able to get our commentary in there. The key to any system you've got to use, it's got to be agile. It's got to be fast as far as making any type of change. Right? Don't get me wrong, I love SAP. I've worked with SAP for 25 odd years. But if I want something special developed, how long does it take? Who here works with SAP, Hannah? Couple? How quick does it take to get a change done? Now you can be honest. Yeah. It depends, but I tell you what, it's hard. Right? At least with Kalumo, who we use, we're able to just go in, we're able to do a lot of stuff ourselves. We're able to self-service. And again, it's about cutting those costs, making those efficiency dividends. Right? We did it basically with the project team with the vendor, but we also made sure the right people were there. People that knew how the system or the treasury system worked from top to bottom and how the business needed their information. Right? We worked with the business, so anytime they had issues or questions or problems, we went through a lot of training. So we made sure that we sat down with them, told them what the issues were, right? And if there was something they wanted to see, it was easy enough to show them. So if they wanted things a certain way, we were able to show it. They were able to save that report as a favourite, one click of the button, next month, there it was updated. Same with our monthly reports. We basically PowerPoint, because we still have a lot of bosses that like to print stuff out. You know, online is still a little bit behind, but basically we had that connected, that I basically hit two buttons and there's all the monthly report done. With all the new numbers, all the new graphs, and because the commentary was put in at each level, they've got access to see exactly why the variances have occurred. Again, it was giving people basically the ability, at the end of the day, when you've got a shared services and you want to know what's going on, who do you ring anyway? The business. The business were telling you what's going on. But instead of telling you, they just log on, put in a couple of lines, and they were done. And that just fed up and allowed us to give much better information to our higher-ups on what decisions had been made, what decisions were going to be made. You know, were we going to come under on that project? Was it due to being late? Or had the scope changed? All of a sudden that information was able to be fed. Basically, stakeholder involvement. We basically made sure that we sat down with the right people, right, especially those that are loud and noisy and the biggest whingers, and made sure that the new systems were going to give them what they had. Next one. To show you some of the things that we had, we were able to go from the signing of the contract to a brand new system where people could log on in 4 months. When we mega-mogged, because government has been trying to reduce clusters, we gained all these other ERPs. Within 2 months, we had all their results coming into the system. So the secretary could go click, and there was his advertising. Instead of waiting till we uploaded 45 things into Prime and finding out what the final answer was. We actually gave him the information first. Right? When we mogged back out, so less than 12 months later, we mogged out. So said government loves, who's government here? How many mogs have you guys been through in your lives? Yeah, it's like that, isn't it? All of a sudden, when we mogged back out, the government made a decision, we left the cluster. There was absolutely no change in our reports. Within 4 weeks, we'd separated the structures, we'd separated the companies, and we were able to report as if nothing had changed at all. Again, it was through agile and having the right people and systems. Report creation. Look, report creation will never stop. If you've got any type of imagination, it never stops. But when you create reports, come to your basic truths. There is one source. I absolutely hate budgets in some ways because project managers say, but this is my budget. And I go, where did it come from? Oh, I've had this spreadsheet for the last 8 months. What about all the changes? Oh, I didn't worry about those. Right, one source of truth. Make sure that all your information is together. And you've got to make it easy. If you make a complicated system, the business won't use it. Where we went was we give them a nice, clean, easy view to start with. But if you wanted more information, you had the ability to drill down. So the more technical users know that there's my nice, easy, there's my revenue budget and how much I'm over or under. But I could drill it down and say, well, is this a sales issue? Is this a licensing issue? Haven't I received enough money from the ACT government? Yes, we have funding arrangements between us. So we could actually see what had happened, why it had happened. So look, keep creating your reports, work with your businesses, right? It engages them, and all of a sudden they're self-serving, so you're not having to send reports. And again, it allowed me to cut staff. I know that sounds a little bit cruel and horrible, but I was able to produce better results, less errors, with a much, much smaller team, and make those efficiency dividends. Right, I know that doesn't sound like a government project. But at the end of the day, we were able to do it because we allocated the right people and we made sure the vendor, they allocated the right people as well. The worst thing you can do with a project, if you want it to fail, is put a whole lot of useless people into the project. And we've seen a lot of times, if you want a project to fail, you put in the most useless. And sure enough, what will happen? It'll fail. And then you can say, I told you so. So yeah, we got the right people in. That is not usual for a government department. And we did that, again, with the right people and being agile. What we've delivered so far, we've got forecasts in there. People can go in and change their forecasts. And they can comment on why it's under and what are they going to do about it. Are they going to get more people on to accelerate it? Are we going to roll it into next year? So again, we're starting to track the decisions. Right, all our prime outputs. How much am I spending on delivering stronger primary industries? How much am I spending to deliver better fishing? Right, finance is only one part of shared services. And people often forget that. It's about the business and what are we helping them to deliver. Automated month-end reporting. One chart of accounts. Obviously the biggest thing is getting everyone into one chart of accounts. And when you're in government, we all think we're special. So we had to simplify our chart of accounts. Right, all our advertising going to these 3 advertisings. Pick. You can still drill down and find it, but as far as our Prime reporting, everybody had to be the same when we reported up to Prime. We basically had the business doing part of our work for us and thanking us for getting them the information so quick. We didn't have to do spreadsheets. They clicked 2 buttons and there was the report. Right, that self-service is such a big thing. All the historical data was saved, and they could drill right down to the transaction if they're that bored. Right, again, it's having information, systems, and the right people. We're still doing a lot of work. We're still bringing up our outcomes-based reporting. We're still doing a little bit more on budget bids, right? But there will be more to come, right? Never let good information stop. It's got to evolve, it's got to keep going. Systems and people are the right thing. Right, as I said, we've got all our HR data, recruitment, WH&S. I can drill down and see where my issues are. So if I'm a manager sitting mid-level, I can actually get the same type of report the DepSec gets, but at my level. So I actually know how does my stuff make up theirs. Right, as I said, all our legal and governance as well. Right, what is it all about? A single source of truth, right? If anyone's got any questions at all, they go into the system. We call it My Outcomes, but it is driven by Columo, because at the end of the day, we're about outcomes-based budgeting. We're about outcomes-based deliverables, outcomes-based people. You know, we're not finance, we're about what do we actually do for our customers. It's a one-stop shop. It records and audits everything, so I can see when changes go in, what went in and what changed. And it's so easy to use. My team, and I've only got a team basically of 2 that is able to service the cluster. People go, no, that can't be right. Yeah, basically 2 people are able to keep my outcomes going and give people what they need. Would I like more? Of course I would. But do you think Treasury will approve an extra couple $100,000 for me? Not likely. Sorry, we're starting to run out of time. Right, now, to sum it all up, get your information in one spot. Allow the business to use it. Be a lot more transparent. One of the problems with a lot of our shared services, we start to squirrel stuff away. Make sure people can see their own information and make decisions on it. It's well and good saying, I'm going to cut corporate services by 10%, but have a plan. How's it going to be done? It's got to be done transparently and sharing it with the business. We are big believers in sharing as much information as we can with the business. Yes, it doesn't include what I'm paid or where I live, but I know the FTEs in the area. I know how much labour budget I've got. I know what my labour actuals are. I know what positions I budgeted for and what positions I paid. All the information has got to be easy to get, easy to use, and easy to understand. Because at the end of the day, it's not shared services that actually makes the decision. It's the business. We, though, have to be the facilitators to help them help themselves. The key for all the systems. As I said, the product we used was Columo, very good. They are one of the major sponsors here, but being able to collect all that information from 7 SAP systems, from Prime, all that hand-entered spreadsheets, really it's about centralising your data, guys. All right, thank you very much. That's my experience. Happy to share if anyone's got any questions.